Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video, we're going to take a look at Splendor. In Splendor, players are mining gems to get as many points as fast as possible. Let's jump right in with the description of the rules, see a few example turns being played, then I'll be back for some closing remarks. This is Splendor, set up for a 4-player game. To set it up, you sort the cards by their different color back and level. You can see 1, 2, 3, and then just form a stack of each and lay out the top 4 cards face up. And then you shuffle the nobles and you lay out as many as there are players plus 1, so we're a 4-player game, so there's 5 nobles laid out here. Other than that, you just form a stack of each different gem type and then a stack of gold. Depending on the number of players, there's going to be a little bit difference in these stacks, but gold is always going to be the same. In a 2-player game, you remove 3 tokens from each stack, but not gold. And in a 3-player game, you remove 2 tokens from each stack, but not gold. But in a 4-player game, you're going to use all 7 in each stack and a stack of 5 gold. During the game, players take turns in clockwise order by performing 1 action each. The possible actions, you can take 3 different types of gems, 2 types of the same gem, reserve a card, or you can purchase a card. The game ends at the end of a round when a player reaches 15 points, and you can see some points laid out here. So let's first go over the actions you can do during a turn. The first is taking 3 different gems. You just take 1 gem of each type from 3 different stacks and you put them in front of you. You cannot take from gold, but any other stacks are fair game as long as there's at least 1 gem left. Also, players must adhere to a strict 10 token limit, and that does include gold. So if you ever surpass 10 in your supply, you have to return some at the end of your turn. You can take more than 10, but you will have to return. The next thing you can do is you can take 2 gems of 1 color. So for instance, I would take 2 black. The restriction here is there has to be at least 4 tokens in the supply at the beginning of your turn. So if there's 4 and you take down to 2, that's okay. But if there's only 3 at the beginning of a turn, you would not be able to take 2 of them, like in this case. The next action is to reserve a card and take a gold. So you can reserve any face-up card or the top card of any deck, and all you do, for instance, is you just take that card, put it into your hand, and your hand has a limit of 3 cards, and once they're in your hand, you can never get rid of them unless you build them. So make sure you pay attention to that, and you just replace it from the supply like so. In addition, you get a gold, and this is the only way to get gold in the game. But if the gold pile is run out, you do not get to take any token. And the last action a player can take during a turn is to purchase a card. You can purchase any of the face-up cards or any card in your hand. To purchase a card, you pay its cost. So in this example, this would cost 1 white, 2 blue, 1 green, and 1 red, and you would pay those tokens to the bank. Gold is a wild and can count as anything. After you pay, you put that face up in front of you and you replace it always from the supply. There should always be 4 until a deck runs out. And then now for the rest of the game, you have a discount of that type. So for instance, if this is in front of me, I have a discount of 1 black. So if I was to try to buy this later, it would only cost me 3 black because I have 1 in front of me. Also, some cards are worth points. You can see this one here is worth 1, but as you get up in a level, the points become much more bountiful. Some cards, however, are worth no points. At the end of each player's turn, you check the nobles. If any player has met the requirements of the nobles, they immediately get to take one. For instance, this guy requires you to have 3 black buildings, 3 red buildings, and 3 green buildings. You cannot pay tokens to buy the nobles, but you have to have that many of each card face up in front of you. If you meet multiple noble requirements at one turn, unfortunately you can only take 1 noble that turn, but you do get to pick which one. Taking a noble is not an action, and you must do it if you're able to do so. Once you get a noble, he or she is yours for the rest of the game, and nobody can steal him from you. And they are all worth 3 points, which you can see in the top corner there. So the game ends the round. 1 player acquires 15 points. Remember to count your nobles in those 15 points. Everybody has an equal number of turns, so make sure you indicate who the first player is. And at the end of that round, whoever has the most points wins. Let's get going with this example playthrough. So in each player's turn, they're going to take 1 action. The first guy is just going to take 1 red, 1 white, and 1 green. And that's his turn because they're 3 different. He could also have taken 2 of 1 type because all of these have at least 4 tokens in their pile. So the next guy is going to do just that, and he's going to take 2 red. Now note there's only 4 of these left, so that can happen one more time, but if there was less than 4 of these at the beginning of a player's turn, they're not going to be able to take 2 of the same kind. The next player is going to take 2 white, and he's just going to put those in his group. Remember, you're limited to 10, but nobody's quite near that yet. And the last guy is just going to take 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 green. So those are in front of him there, and play continues like this. Now it's this player's turn, and he decides he really wants to hold this card for later because it's worth 5 points. So he's going to take that to his hand. Remember, his hand limit's 3, and he's going to flip a new card. Also, because he did that, he gets a gold, which he can use as a wild for purchasing any cards. We're going to jump ahead a little bit in the game to when somebody can purchase a card. Welcome back. It's now this player's turn, and he is going to purchase this card. It costs 1 white, 2 blue, a green, and a red, so he pays those back to the supply so anybody can get them. and then he takes that card in front of him. So now he's always going to get a bonus of 1 black. So everything that costs black costs 1 less black, and he keeps that card in front of him for everybody to see. It is not worth any points, but then we flip out a new card, and it's the next player's turn. We'll come back a little later in the game when some players are getting some nobles and it's about to end. Welcome back. It's now near the end of the game, and you can see people have built a lot more stuff in front of them. It's this player's turn, and he's going to take one of the cards from his hand that he picked earlier to get a gold, and he's going to play it. So he has 4 red here, so he only has to pay 3, and he has the tokens to do so. And he has 1 black, so he only has to pay 2. So he pays those to the bank, and then he plays this in front of him in the pile with his other blacks. But now he has over 15 points. He has 7, 8, 9, 14, 17 points. So this is the last round of the game. Because he went first, everybody else gets 1 turn. It's going to end with that player over there. So for this guy's turn, he's going to take this one. He has 3 whites, 2 greens, and 2 reds, so he only needs to pay 1 red for that, and he just puts that back to the supply and takes this into his area. As normal, we replenish this, and it goes on to the next player's turn. For this guy's turn, he's just going to take that card that came out. He has 1 white, so he only has to pay 1, and he has 1 red, so he has to pay another 1, and he has 3 black. So he takes that, and that's worth a point to him. And then the new card is flipped, and now the last turn of the game is going to be this player over here. And for his turn, he's just going to take this card for free because he has 1 of all these different resources. So he's going to put that in front of him. Also, now because he has 3 green, 3 red, and 3 black, you can see that that matches the requirements of this noble. So he gets this noble and the corresponding 3 points. Now the game is over, and whoever has the most points wins, which was the player that initiated the end of the game. Splendor is a really streamlined game. All the actions are very easy to understand and very quick to perform. And because for a turn a player just does 1 action, the turns move very fast, which keeps everybody engaged. The 30-minute play time is really realistic here, even for your first play when you have to learn the rules, because they're all so simple. The only rule that I've seen people get a little tripped up on is taking a card and then taking a gold, but they'll get a hang of it really quickly. The game is relatively light, so it'd be good for family settings, but harder core gamers can certainly enjoy it as well, just because it's so engaging, and there is a lot to kind of calculate. You kind of have to see what other people are doing and guess what they're going to go for, and sometimes you just want to take that card so nobody else can get it. This is a pretty new game that came out in 2014, but it's a really good one. It's popping up everywhere, and it's doing really well. I strongly recommend this one to anybody that thought it looked interesting. It just really is a good game. That's Splendor.